The first thing to do now is to draft our pattern. We want to cut the off the shoulder dress. So you draft your pattern by getting your vertical measurements. That's shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, then shoulder to half length. Now, because I don't want the joining to be on my waistline, that's why you have to get the half length, and then your half length measurement is your shoulder to waist minus 2 inches. That's what will give you your half length. Then you can add 1 inch seam allowance. So now then you get your shoulder circumference. That's you divide by 2. Mine is 14 and I divided by 2 to give me 7, and then I added half inch sewing allowance. So on the length, remember to always add your half inch that we will later use in joining the shoulders together. So my shoulder to my armhole, how did you get that? You divide your armhole circumference by 2. Mine is 16, divided by 2 is 8. So I added half inch because of the shoulder that will be joining. My shoulder to bust is 11, but I added half inch. Shoulder to under bust 14 plus half, and so on and so forth. So you're going to get your bust span now. That's the nipple to nipple measurement, and you place that measurement on the bust area. Mine is 8, divided by 2 is 4, and you add half inch that allowance. So you put that on the bust line to the half length, and then you're going to connect it with your ruler from the bust to the half length like this. Now you come to the armhole. Remember, we want to do a princess dart bustier. You come to the armhole and then you get the half of this length here. 8.5 divided by 2 is 4.5. That's 4.5. So I'm going to be connecting from the half of the armhole here to my bust. Just draw a line to connect the two together. Now, if we decide to cut this way, by the time you finish your sewing, there's going to be a shortage here because of this bend here. So this side is going to be shorter than this side. So to avoid that, you just extend your armhole dart by 2 inches into that armhole area. You just extend by 2 inches like this, and then you connect. So this is going to make up for any shortage that may want to happen later. So once that is done, you then take your French curve on the armhole and you connect from that 2 inches point here. That 2 inches extension, you connect it into this point. Like this. And then now we want to get our bustier area. So what do? You come to the under bust and you mark 2 inches. 2 inches into this block on the on the side pattern, not the center. On the side pattern, you mark your 2 inches under bust, and on the half length, you also mark 2 inches. So you make a straight line, and then you'll be connecting this under bust to the bust point like this. And then we're going to come to the armhole area. To eliminate the bulk here, you also put you mark 1 inch from here. You mark 1 inch. That's from the middle point. You mark 1 inch, and then you use your ruler in connecting that to the bust side like this. So in order to create a curve, you just take your you take your French curve. So you use your curve in curving that point. You make a curve here so that this place is not pointed. You're going to cut on the curve line. So once that is done, then we're going to get our circumference measurement. My bust circumference is 39. 39 divided by 4 is 9 3/4. 9 3/4. Under bust divided by 4. Under bust divided by 4, that's 34 divided by 4 is 8 1/2. Then whatever I have on my under bust is what I always use for my half length, because it's not so different. It's just a slight difference. So on the bust area, you're going to add 2 inches seam allowance. On the under bust, you are adding 4 inches seam allowance. On the half length, you are adding 4 inches. You may want to ask why. The reason is because the original allowance is 2 inches, which we have here, and then the 2 inches we are removing from under the bustier, you have to replace it at the allowance area. That's why we have that. So I'm going to cut out the pattern now. So that's the pattern that we've cut out for your princess dart bustier. So now we want to achieve this look. The tulle net will be up here, so we want to cut out that point from the pattern before we replace it. Then you're going to mark your neck width. My neck width is 8 inches, so you minus 1 from 8, that's 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Why did I subtract? That's because by the time you're turning your neckline with a facing or with lining, it will open up by half here on the left and half on the right, so that goes back to 1 inch extra. So always subtract 1 inch from your original neck width before dividing by 2 for your pattern drafting. So you also mark that down, 3.5, and then the neck length is 3.5 also, 3.5. So you create a square, and then you can create your curve. So because I want a sweetheart neck, look at this. So I'll be going with this pattern. The neck length here is 6.5 from my shoulder down to where I want this V to stop is 6.5. So that's what I measured here. I measured 6.5. And so you just create a sweetheart effect. Like this. If you want it higher, you can go higher. Depends on you. And if you want it straight, it depends on you. So whatever you have here will end somewhere around here. So I'm going to be cutting this out. But before I do that, remember to put your shoulder slant. You mark 1 inch on the length of the armhole here, and you slant the shoulder by 1 inch. So I'm going to cut that out now. So this is going to be my pattern for the dress. So I'm going to cut the fabric the same way now. In order to manage my fabric, I folded for different pieces. I didn't go the other way. I folded on this piece so I can manage the fabric. So when cutting the fabric, remember to add 1/2 inch allowance on the fabric, because you'll be sewing the tulle, that's the baby net, to it with 1/2 inch. So for the neckline, you take your tulle. I've doubled my tulle, folded into 2, and because I want to cut on fold, you also fold this way. So you place your pattern on the two nets, and then you cut out the exact shape of what you have. Mind you, you are going to mark 1/2 inch extra to this point, because we'll be joining it to the main fabric. So this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to cut another of this the same way, so that I can use it as the lining of the net. I want to use the net as the lining also. For my back block, you're going to take another pattern, and then you mark 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance, and you take the previous front pattern, you place it at the tip of the zipper allowance, and then you're going to mark your shoulder, your armhole area. And then because I don't want the neckline as deep as the front, I want, the front here is 6.5, so the back will be 4.5. If you want it the same way, just cut it the same way, but I don't want it the same, so I want mine straight. That's why I measured 4.5 for the back, and then you connect that. So I'm going to draw out the shape of my pattern now, and then my neckline for the back, neck depth will not be this low. It's going to just be about 2 inches. So I'm going to draw that pattern and show you now. So I've drawn my pattern for the back there, and then I drew the shoulder, and then I drew the back armhole. For the back armhole, we are not removing anything at the armhole. We're not deducting anything from the princess dart, the 1 inch we did for the front. So you just connect that back, and then you draw the side. You draw your sides. So let me remove the pattern now for you to see. So for the back, this is what you're going to have. So this is our pattern for the back. Now this is the bust point here, and this is the under bust point. So for the back block, remember that, for the front block, remember we added 2 inches extra because of the bustier we cut off from the dart line. So we'll be at the under bust area now. We'll be measuring the 2 inches into the side block. We'll measure it inside because we want to deduct it from the back block. You're not going to have bustier on the back, so there's no need having 4 inches dart. We'll just have 2 inches seam allowance on the bust, on the half length, and on the under bust. So I'll be deducting 2 inches from the under bust now. So that's it. So this is accurate for the back block. So I'm going to cut now. So remember to add the 1/2 inch for your allowance at the top to join the 2 nets. Then for the side pattern, remember to add the extension on the fabric, the extension for the princess dart. You add that here. Now for the tulle neckline of the back, you're going to have your pattern. Just place your pattern there. Remember to add 1/2 inch allowance. I folded my fabric into 4. Let me show you. I folded the fabric into 4. so that there will be no joining here. I won't have any joining or opening at all. So I folded into 4. You cut your neckline, and then I slashed away the zipper allowance on the tulle neckline. Why? Because I want to put a loop and I want an opening on my dress. So you're cutting 2 of this piece. Now for the sleeve, just fold your fabric into 2. That's the tulle net. Fold it into 2 because we don't want any joining at the sleeve length here. Fold it into 2, and then you fold again sideways into 2. You have to be gentle, patient when working with the net because it can really stress you. So you mark your sleeve circumference, you divide by 2, and you put that here. Then you add 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then you get your sleeve length. It's just the basic sleeve, and then your armhole curve. You just add 1/2 inch for the sewing. So you also get the sleeve circumference at this point for the bicep, so that it will not be too tight. And if you want it tight, it depends on you. So you cut out 2 of these for the sleeves. Now for the lower block of the dress, you're going to mark your 1/2 inch allowance that you use it in joining it to the upper bodice. You add 1/2 inch allowance at the top. So from this 1/2 inch allowance, you begin with your half length measurement. Mine is 15.5 and a half, 15 and a half. So that's where I placed on that 1/2 inch, 15 and a half. Then you mark your shoulder to waist 17, shoulder to hip is 24. Then the length of my dress is a 3/4 length, so I'm using 44 inches. So we'll be adding 1 inch allowance to it because we'll be using the hemming gum to finish up the edge of our dress. So now we'll go to the circumference measurement. On the waist, you're going to put your circumference measurement. My waist is 37 inches. 37 divided by 4 is 9 1/4. So you mark that here. I hope the chalk is visible. And then you're going to add 2 inches seam allowance. Why? Because we're going to be having our waist darts on the waist point here. So my hip is 40 divided by 4, that's 10. On the hip, just add 1 inch seam allowance because your dart is not reaching here. Then on the hem line, put your hip measurement and the allowance. That's mine is 10 plus 1 inch allowance, that's 11. And then you're going to now subtract 1 inch from that because I want it shapy. Subtract 1 inch from that. So I'll connect the points now. So that's the outcome of the cutting. So now we want to know the placement of our darts. Remember, my bust dart is 8 inches. So you divide 8 by 2, that's 4, and then you mark 1/2 inch. So that's 4.5. So the length of my dart will be 4.5 inches too. Now we want to cut the flounce. So what you do is the remaining dress length, that's the lower block of your dress. Mine is 29 inches. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 to give me 58. So I will divide 58 by 6.28. I'm sure you know how to cut your flare, your radius already. 58 divided by 6.28 will give me 9.25. Now to know the amount of fabric I'll be folding, I would add 9.25 radius to the flounce length, sorry, the width of the flounce, how wide it's going to be. That's 8 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance because I'll be turning it with lining. So in total, the amount of fabric I'll be folding is 18.25. So you fold. I've already cut it out. You're going to measure 18.25. Here, 18.25. That's about 18 1/4. Just mark it there, and then you hold that place down and fold your fabric into two. So you get that 18.25 on this length too, 18.25. Make sure the whole flare, sorry, the whole square is 18.25 round. Now for my radius, 9.25. Our radius is 9.25. So you're just going to mark that from the tip of your so I've cut out my radius and my flounce length here. So you're just going to open up one side, you slash one side, and then you're going to slant this point. So now you open up the front block of the lower dress, and so I want to show you how to do it. So you're going to, that's after we've done the facing. This edge, that's the radius point, is not supposed to be visible outside. So this goes under, like this. And so you turn it again. By the time I put the facing, it's going to be obvious. You turn it again and you place it under, like that. Then you turn it again under to conceal the radius, because we'll be top stitching it on the front block. And then you do that and you turn it again under, and then you turn it again. You see how beautiful the flounce is. To sew your tulle neckline, you place the 4 we've cut, you place 2 down and you place 2 on top of it, and then you're going to sew a 1/4 inch round the neckline. So a 1/4 inch around the neckline, and then you turn it out. You don't need to notch it round because it will naturally go, it will naturally flow. You can see that it bends because it's a net, like this. So you take the upper bodice, and then you'll be sewing your bustier with 1/2 inch on both sides. You sew with 1/2 inch, and you also cut your lining. I'm using the same fabric as the lining because I couldn't get lycra lining. That's the lining that stretches. That's what you should use for the scuba fabric because it stretches too. So you cut it the same way and you sew your darts. So once you're done sewing, you pick the fabric itself and then you place the tulle on top and you pin this round the neckline. You pin it round the neckline. So I'm pinning the neckline round, the tulle round the over bust area. You have to be patient when working with tulle nets. You have to be patient. So I've pinned the tulle round the neckline. So what I'm going to do now is to take my lining, and I'm going to also pin it. I'm just going to place it on the fabric. You can see this is the front of the fabric, this is the tulle, and this is the lining. So you place the center against each other, and then you're going to be sewing 1/2 inch round like that. So once you're done sewing, you're going to notch the curved area. round the neckline, you notch it round. So by the time you wear this, it's going to lay on your body. So now I want to attach the upper block to the lower block. So for the lower block, you're going to pick your dart. You're going to pick your dart. Remember, your dart from your waist downward is 4 inches. And then you are going to pick the remaining from the waist to the half length. So my full dart length is 6.5 here. So you take your flounce. You can see that I have lined my flounce with Ankara because I want that highlight. I want an highlighting. So you're going to iron your air stay interfacing. You iron it on the lining, because I want you to have some weight. So this is how. So once you've ironed that, you're going to sew it on the hem. Sew it on the hem of the flounce, and then you turn it out. When you turn it out, you iron it properly, and after ironing, you're going to top stitch to hold the two together at the radius point. So once you're done, this is how you're going to set it, like this. You're going to put it in between the darts, like this. And so you take it underneath. Just watch as I go on, you're going to get it. You take it under. So I'm going to pin this at the top so it doesn't shift around. Pinned that. So you're going to take it backwards again. It's like you're going in, out, in, out. So you take it backwards again, like this, and then you take it underneath again. It's just like a sequence of flow. You can see it's coming out beautifully. So you take it under again, and then you take it backwards and take it under. So I want my flounce to reach down, so I'm going to be reducing this, like I'm going to be reducing the fullness of the flounce like this, so that it can go underneath also. Look at what I'm doing. It's not difficult, you can do this. So there's really no big deal about your flounce. Once you get the technique, you are good to go. Nobody can bobo you. So you see this? So in order for this part not to show, I'm going to loosen a bit of it. So when I loosen a bit of it, I will tuck in. So the lower part, I'm leaving this for my hemline because I'll be folding it in with the hemming gun. So you're just going to leave that allowance, and then this part, you're going to fold it in like this. Make sure you tuck in the mess and you top stitch down. Now how will you be top stitching? You're going to go this way and you top stitch down, so that this falls down. It conceals your seam. So now I'm going to pin each point down and show you how you will tack it to the blouse. So I've pinned it down so that by the time I take it away from the table, it won't scatter. So you're going to now take this to the machine and you top stitch the top of the flounce to the top of the half length of the lower block, and then you open up this point and you also top stitch the top here. Then you open up this point and you top stitch here, so that it will stay on the bodice like that. So I'm going to sew this down, sew this down, and then remember the way I showed you how to do this part. So I'm done with the flounce. Now I want to join the upper block to the flounce, sorry, to the lower block, and I'll not be using lining for the lower block. So to conceal my waist seam, you open up the lining of the upper block and sew the fabric of the upper block to the upper block itself, sorry, to the lower block. So I pinned it together. Now you're going to put all this in between like this. You turn it over, just look at me, you're going to get it. You turn it over and then you sew like this. I've sewn 1/2 inch on the waist, and then I'm going to turn it out this way. It's looking so beautiful already. For my back block, you're going to take your tulle net and sew 1/2 inch, sorry, 1/4 inch on the neckline. And remember, the way you're folding, there is no fold on the zipper allowance. So you fold it in a way that there will be no opening here. And then after sewing, you iron and you turn it over. That's why I have 4 layers laying neatly here. So I'm going to sew my 1/2 inch on the dart point. You sew 1/2 inch, and then you place the tulle net against the zipper allowance. Mark your 1.5 inches on the zipper allowance. So you're going to take the lining. I've also cut the lining the same way as the fabric. If you don't want to use the scuba fabric, use the lycra lining that stretches. So I've placed that here, and I'm going to be sewing 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch down. So you cut off the extension of the princess dart like that, and then mind you, you're sewing 1/2 inch on the zipper allowance, and then you notch the corner, you clip off the corners there. So we're going to turn this out. Look at this. So you'll be ironing, you iron that. Okay. So after sewing, you iron, like I said. You can see how neat it lays. You iron this. Now you want to join it to the lower block, so you make sure the dart points meet, and then we'll be placing this. We'll open this up and place the fabric on the half length. You pin it together. After pinning, now you turn it with your lining. You turn it like this so that the darts will meet each other, and then we're going to be sewing 1/2 inch on this point. So you do that for both the left and the right side. Now we're done sewing. You can see how beautiful this is. Look at the seam. The waist seam is not even showing at all because we've concealed it. So now you're going to fix your zipper on the back block. You open it up, and then you turn this over on the zipper allowance. You can see that the extension of the zipper is going to go underneath. So by the time we're done sewing, this is what we're going to get. So you pin it down to the remaining 1 inch zipper allowance. You pin this down, you pin this down, you also pin this down, and then you'll be sewing the remaining point from here downwards. If you want a slit, you can mark your slit with the 1.5 inches seam allowance, and then you sew in between. But I don't want a slit, so I'm going to sew up everything after the zipper. we want to attach our loop for the zipper area. So you're going to cut your net about 3 inches width by maybe 4 inches. So you fold into 2, and then you fold this way and you fold this way, and you just sew, top stitch the opening like that. So with this, now you fold like this, so you're just going to place it under one side of the zipper and you top stitch. Once you're done, you fix your button here and then you hook this up. So to shape our dress, you're going to place the front block on the back block. We want to turn the shoulder now. So you hold the two together, the front piece together, and then you open up the back block, place the front in between that, and then you turn this over and you sew half an inch. After joining the shoulders, now I want to shape my measurement. So the first thing to do is to get your vertical points, your shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, hip, and the rest. You get it down. So on the bust point, you get your circumference measurement. Mine is 39 divided by 4 is 9 3/4. But because this is a bustier dress, you're going to be subtracting 2 inches from your normal bust measurement. So 39 minus 2 is 7. 37 divided by 4 is 9 1/4. So I'm going to mark, putting 9 1/4 on my zipper, and I'll mark the front of 1, and then I'm going to mark 18.5. That's the half of 37. But on the waist, on the under bust, you use your normal measurement. It's only on the bust that you subtract 2 inches because of the bustier that is pointed there. Now, because this dress is scuba, for scuba you don't need any allowance at all. You don't need any allowance. So after shaping your normal measurement, you should sew ½ inch. You should measure ½ inch into the dress and sew it there, so that it will be very fitted on your body. But for a normal fabric that is not stretchy, then this is just put your normal measurement. But if it's a stretchy fabric, just put your normal measurement and then you mark ½ inch into the block and sew on the ½ inch. In fact, I would have loved to even do that for you, as in when you were drafting on the fabric before starting to sew. You should don't add any allowance to your fabric, to your sewing allowance, if you are using a stretchy fabric. But if you are using any other fabric like Ankara or cotton, then just put your normal measurements there. So my under bust is 34. 34 divided by 4 is 8 1/4. Sorry, 8.5. So I'm going to be putting 8.5 on the zipper, and then I'll mark the remaining here. So that's how you're going to shape it all the way down. So on the M line, you're going to subtract 2 inches from your hip. My hip is 40, minus 2 is 38. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So I'll put 9.5 at the zipper point, and I'm going to be marking in front of the 1 inch, and then I'll mark 19 here. You have to reduce it so that it will shape it in. So I'll connect with my ruler now. On the armhole, you mark your circumference. Mine is 14 plus ½ inch on both sides. That's 15. You just get it there. That's 15 inches. So you cross check the length of your armhole. I want to use 15 inches because of the tulle sleeve. I'm having a tulle sleeve, not a fabric sleeve. So 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So you mark that, and then you create your curve, your armhole curve. on both sides of the dress. For my sleeve, we've cut this earlier. We're using the sleeve to also line it, the tool to line it. That is why I cut in two places without joining. So I want a design on one side of my sleeve. So you're going to cut a long strip of tulle net. It's optional. You might put this, you might not put this. I'm doubling it. I doubled it, and then I sewed loose stitches, gathering stitches on it, and then I'm going to be pulling it. This design is optional. You can be creative with your sleeve or just leave it plain. So this is what I've gathered. Now you're going to get the half of this sleeve and you place this against it. Make sure it's at the middle of the sleeve. It's at the middle. So now you're going to put this under the machine and you sew the normal stitch on this. So you do that for the second sleeve too. So once you're done doing that, you're going to hold your, want to shape our sleeve now. You fold it this way. You fold your sleeve this way, and then you take it this way upward, and so you'll be sewing the ½ inch allowance that you put on the sleeve circumference. ½ inch same allowance, you sew it down. That's my sleeve done. So now you're going to, you can see the sleeves are separate, so you're going to push it out from one side. Sorry, you push it out on the fabric side. Like this. So this is the sleeve. See how beautiful it is. So I'm going to be pinning. I'm going to open up my bodice, my dress now. You make sure the seam is separated, and then you take the tulle, the sleeve, you take it this way and you put against the fabric, and so I'm going to pin it round. Open it up like this, and we'll be pinning it round. You have to be patient when working with the tulle net. Now we want to work on the M line, and we're using the hemming gum. This comes in black and white. So you open up the seam of the back, that's the zipper allowance, and then you place your hemming gum against it like this. Now because I want it firm, I can cut out 2 strips of the gum and put one here and put one here. So that's 2. But let me just cut and show you. So you'll be folding like this. You fold like this, and then you use your pressing iron to gum it down. Use your pressing iron to gum it down. So once I'm done with this process, I'll show you the end result of my dress. And this is the outcome of the tulle neckline dress with the layered flounce. It's so beautiful, and so I don't want it plain. That is why I'm adding the pearls to it. So you can get these pearls from the fabric store. It comes in packs, and then you can use the glue gun to just, once your gun is hot, you just press the trigger to bring out the melted gum, and then you design your dress any way you want it.